Hey guys, well I thought I would go over my own sort of homemade laundry soap recipe. There are plenty of other recipes out there on YouTube. I think the Haas, Yankee Prepper, a lot of these guys have a recipe on there that's very similar that you'll find when you kind of look this up online. I'm going to take it one further and turn it into a liquid instead of a dry mix. I find the liquid recipe to actually be a little bit better, especially when I don't need to use hot water in my laundry, and I try just to use cold water most of the time. And because the cold water doesn't really dissolve the dry mix very well, so because I like to run a cold water mix in my laundry, I prefer the liquid recipe. Now there's a couple recipes that I've found over the years online. One of them is sort of a small batch that ends up being in a 2-gallon bucket, and that one is sort of a pretty good concentrate. It ends up being about a half cup per load. And then the other one you're going to find is a 5-gallon bucket recipe. But if you do the math, they don't quite work out. The 5-gallon bucket recipe ends up being a 1 cup soap per load, and it just doesn't quite work out. The 2-gallon recipe will tell you to use a third of the naphtha soap with a half cup and a half cup. A 5-gallon bucket recipe uses the entire bar, but only a cup and a cup. So I go a little bit different, and we're going to use an entire bar. And mostly the reason I do this is just for ease of this recipe, without having to get weird and measure a bunch of stuff and worrying about it whether you got a third thing of soap. We're going to use just an entire thing of soap. The Fels-Naptha, you can find it usually in the laundry aisle of most of your department stores. Super washing soda. It is made by Arm & Hammer, but it is not baking soda. Make sure it's super washing soda. So we're going to be doing a cup and a half of that, and a cup and a half of the borax, and we'll get started. All right, we're going to get some water going. I like using a big pot. It's just easier. Again, I don't measure this. Some of the recipes online are going to give you specific things, like you need to have 3 quarts or 1 quart of water or whatever. Anyway, get some warm water going, and while that's going, we're going to go ahead and grate the soap. Alright, we're going to grate this soap. It is sort of a dry, chunky soap, so this is kind of a messy process. But again, it's just a whole lot easier to do the recipe by the bar, and so you're just doing this recipe every once in a while instead of all the time. Yeah, I use a flexible cutting board and just sort of go to town. Alright, we got a nice pile of shavings, a few big chunks. That's not really going to be an issue. Again, because it's a liquid, we're going to dissolve this all. So, alright, this is why I use a flexible cutting board. I'm just going to kind of dump that in and let it dissolve. Try not to stir it too much because it will just turn into a soapy mess. But slowly just stir it until all the soap is dissolved. Alright, about 3 minutes. We're just about there. I got a few little floaties in here. There's one little chunk still there. And that's part of the reason I like this process better, is because you're getting rid of all the odd sized chunks. Even if you do a hot load of laundry with the powdered version, you still have the chance of ending up with these extra larger flakes that are just a little bit too big to dissolve quickly. And this process eliminates all that. Just about there. And again, we're not really going to be too concerned. I'm just going to do my cup and a half of borax. So, sorry for blocking the light there. We're trying out a new camera. There's 1 cup. There's a half cup. And this is, in the end, it's just soap. So you don't really have to get an old pot or anything like that if you're worried about. This is still just all soap. And we're going to run 1 more pot of hot water in this anyway. There's our 1 and a half. Good enough. Close enough for government work. So, going to keep that stirred. It's going to be the same thing. If you stir super vigorously, all you're going to do is make suds on top. You're going to stir this till it's dissolved, and it will start to thicken at this point as well. And I'll bring you back. It'll probably be another 3 to 5 minutes. We're going to get our bucket ready. Turn our stove off. And I'm actually going to pour this guy right in here. I've got the faucet to where it's coming out pretty hot already. And just to help rinse this pot a little bit, we're going to use hot water. And we're going to continue to add hot water till it's pretty much full. So as you guys know, I like to use the heavy duty sort of cement mixer for a lot of things around here, including the egg cartons and things like that. But as this starts to cool, it's going to start to thicken really bad. And most recipes are going to tell you to let this sit 24 hours, and then it's going to be this congealed sort of jelly mess. And then a lot of people will take their drill and they'll blend this up and try to break up that gel. What I will try to do, just save you an extra step tomorrow, is as long as this is thoroughly mixed, and you can keep mixing it with the drill here, so make sure this is a thorough mix, there's no separation going on. Before it congeals, go ahead and portion it, and I use these simply containers here. My canning jar funnel fits over the top of this, and it's a pretty good mix for nice wide opening. And I will portion these all before they turn to gel and it starts to cool. It just saves you an extra step in the morning. These will solidify in their own little containers overnight, and then you'll have portioned out laundry soap. Stay tuned for a special offer when we will actually double, that's right, double your order. If you call in the next 10 minutes, you also get a free traveling case, a $75 value. Call now.
Yeah, that's a firm. We're loading up right now.